everyone, I'm Robin Gregory from the Northern Integrated Family Violence Services team, and I'd like to start by acknowledging that we're meeting on Aboriginal land and to pay our respects to all Aboriginal people, including elders past, present and emerging, and also to acknowledge that sovereignty of this land has never been ceded. This interview is part of the Service System Overview series to help workers understand more about family violence services in the Northern Metro region. And I'm very pleased to welcome Suzie Nesbitt from the Orange Door. Welcome, Suzie.
Thanks. Nice to be here.
And I'd like to start by asking you, can you talk about what the Orange Door does and who can access it?
Yeah. So the main thing to access the Orange Door is three kind of things for people to remember, really. That you need to live in the northeast of Melbourne. So that's 5 LGAs, which include Yarra, Nillumbik, Darebin, who am I forgetting here? Whittlesea, there's one more, Banyule, I always forget. So, so it's quite a large catchment area, so someone needs to live in that area. You also need to be needing some either family violence support or some child wellbeing support, and I can get into that a little bit later. Or you might be a perpetrator of family violence needing some support in that area. And it's a voluntary service, so we can't make people come into our service, we can't make them do anything.
That's great. And can you tell us more about what responses both victim survivors and perpetrators could expect from your service, Suzie?
Yeah, so what you can expect is, particularly if you're calling in, so if you're a victim survivor, you can expect to get pretty much a phone response from a practitioner on the day or within 48 hours. So it's a really quick service response to victim survivors calling in. You can expect to be kind of treated with dignity and respect. You know, that goes for all our clients. That's really, really important. As a victim survivor, you can expect to be believed. So, you know, those stories, often people haven't been believed. It's really important that that's respected. And you can also expect that your kind of decision making and autonomy is going to be respected. So sometimes that's an uncomfortable thing for workers to sit with, the decision making of someone maybe needing to stay or wanting to stay in a relationship. But that's something that we need to work with a victim survivor, because as we know, there's many reasons why someone will stay in a relationship. Which we would expect that we're going to start doing some work around a risk assessment. So we're trying to work out how safe or unsafe are women and kids. And we're going to try and work out what we can do to support that safety. And yeah, that's the kind of the main premise that we're doing. And then in terms of the support, we might be doing a targeted bit of support in the Orange Door. So we might be doing some lock changes or some safety planning, or we might be actually referring out to another service, like it might be family violence counselling, or it might be integrated family services response to get some parenting support for the family. So we're looking at what are the kind of back-end supports that can really help the family.
That's great. That's really detailed. Were you going to say something else?
The other thing to remember is that we're 9 to 5, we are actually safe steps. So this gets a bit confusing for people, but well, actually we're 9 to 4 because we need at least an hour to do an assessment with someone to work out whether they are suitable for emergency accommodation and if that's what they're needing. So what that means is that we're supporting women and children in emergency accommodation, sometimes with a view to getting into refuge, but sometimes with a view, for example, you may need some short-time safety accommodation while your house gets more secure. Or it might be you actually need to enter the private rental market, which is another kind of long-term kind of thing. And while in emergency accommodation, we're referring through to Berry Street Crisis Response Team, who will be supporting women and kids in that emergency accommodation once they're in there.
Great. Yeah, that's really excellent to know all about the referrals and the service that you provide. So importantly, how can workers refer in, and what should they keep in mind, Suzie, when referring to your service?
So we really want women to be calling in themselves. So this is for a number of reasons. And one is a little bit about what I've kind of alluded to before. We're really wanting to kind of respect victim survivors' kind of self-determination and agency. It's actually really important that women are able to call in themselves, because sometimes a worker may really feel that a client needs support, or they are really unsafe, but that may not be the time that this woman actually wants to action some of that support. So it can be really challenging for workers to hear really unsafe and traumatic kind of stories from clients, but it may not be where the client's at that point in time. The other thing why we're wanting women to call through themselves is it actually can be unsafe for us to call her back. So we may be calling back on a phone that could be bugged or monitored, or we could be calling back at a really compromising time and kind of put her in an unsafe situation. So we're really mindful of that. And the other reason is we're trying, sometimes in the past, workers have called through, they've made referrals, and then they've kind of felt confident that that woman's kind of her safety's being addressed. Actually, we have a huge demand, so we're really worried about people waiting in wait lists. And we really want to partner with other agencies to make sure that they're kind of continuing to support that woman as well. So that's really important. Of course, we really encourage warm referrals. So as much as possible, a worker supporting a client in that moment to make that phone call is really, really fantastic. Also, if someone has a lot of complexity, so cold background, non-English speaking, drug and alcohol, or a whole range of things, and we feel that that person really can't contact us, we can, as an exception, have a referral, but that's rare. What we do though is we often get information with consent, client consent from workers. So you can share the information with us so that we have it there for when that woman does call us. And we don't have to go into so much detail about her story. We will always do a risk assessment because it needs to be kind of dynamic and in the moment. But we're really happy to gather information if we think it's going to support that woman when she calls us through. Remembering that we also do child wellbeing work. So if someone's calling through to us for some child wellbeing work, what we want is, we will accept a referral, but what we want them to do is to discuss the referral with us first. Again, we need consent. We're not going to do something without client consent. And then we'll send that community referrer our referral form. They'll fill it in and they'll email it back to us. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, and what you were talking about really touches on the next question, which is around secondary consultation, because obviously the Marram framework emphasises the importance of secondary consults, particularly with specialist family violence services. So can workers ring and discuss a possible referral with you?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. That we would really encourage that. I mean, the great thing about other workers calling through is that we get a chance to kind of, unpack some of the safety issues, really support them in their safety planning, because what's great about the Marram framework and about how we're approaching family violence now is that although we're specialist family violence, it is actually everyone's responsibility to be able to try and help women and kids stay safer. So, and the more we share those skills and the more confident universal services feel to ask the question about family violence, to get disclosure, and then to do some solid safety planning, the safer women are going to be.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Fall through. Similarly, we also do secondary consultation for child wellbeing work too. So if someone's kind of thinking, I feel like this might need to be a child protection notification or referral, we would get professionals calling us to discuss what's the best way to support these kids in the family. So yeah, secondary consultation for both. And also for men's work. So if someone's working with a man and they're feeling, is really unsafe, absolutely we can call through to us. and have a discussion with one of the men's workers about, you know, what might be the best pathway of support for that perpetrator of violence.
Good point. And lastly, as you suggested before, demand on the service system is huge, and demand on the Orange Door, we know, has been huge. So what can workers do if it's difficult, you know, for your service to be able to assist the person they're working with at that time?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think staying involved can be really helpful. So I think often we want to sign off on our case, or we want to, you know, move someone into the next part of the system that we think is going to assist them. But it can actually be really helpful if someone stays around, if a worker stays involved, even if it's on the periphery, but to really help support that woman.
Great, that's a great way to finish, I think, on that note, Suzie. So thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate your insights into the Orange Door and to helping workers understand more about the service.
You're welcome. Thanks, Robin. Bye.
Thanks.